Well,
Well,
hello.
hello. Hey, welcome back.
All right, you guys. Welcome from Startup to Takeover podcast with Kim and Latrice. So how are you doing today, Kim?
I'm getting through. I'm getting through, getting better as the days go. Nothing too much today. Again, another light day. How about you?
Pretty good. Again, in my garden. I didn't plant anything today.
Mm,
Um, but just did my regular watering, put my fertilizer down. And that was it. That was it for me today. And worked on some other business stuff, of course. And then got ready for the podcast.
okay, well, our podcast is just gonna go right in. We're gonna go right in. I want to go right in when men step up, changing the family dynamic. I want to ask this question: does your husband ever go in the garden with you?
So sometimes, but so I would say this. He tried to go in the garden with me maybe about 3 weeks ago. He was like, "Hold on, baby. I'm gonna come out there and I want you to walk me through." And I was like, "Okay." Yeah, that was the only time. So
that wasn't
no,
something he enjoyed.
no, not. I would say this, not yet, because you do know we're just now getting started in the yard. So I think
Yeah.
as things grow, like right now, I have 4 watermelons that have actually started to develop. Yesterday was one, 3 more popped today. I have some
Okay.
corn getting ready to do their thing. My squash is showing, and my cucumber. So I think once he get to see the fruit start coming together, I think maybe that will help because he did decide to come out 3 weeks ago on his own. I didn't say anything, so you know.
Okay. So, in your opinion,
Mhm.
what does it mean for men to step up? In your opinion.
So when I say step up, I'm talking about more so for the men to, you know how we always say women need to make better choices in our selection. I think
And
the
like
men as well need to do the same so that when they do, I think their mind would be more at ease to run their households properly, right? I
right,
think a lot of us, men and women, choose significant others based off the superficial. And I think superficial can get us in trouble. So I think if the men do what we keep telling women to do, choose better, select better, if the men do that as well, I think that'll bring them peace because one of the most important things they talk about is men are not, they don't have peace in their own homes, right?
right,
And, I definitely believe that the mind is one of the number one things that have to be taken care of in order for someone to move properly. So when we look at men who right now, well, I ain't gonna say right now, I think forever have been going through,
mm-hmm.
I think that that's part of what the issue is. I don't think men are just out here leaving us hanging without a backstory, right? And I think that backstory could be in the selection of the women that they're choosing, just like us women, we make bad selections with the men that we're choosing. And then it's going to play a part when you start to have children, raising a family, career, and trying to balance all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say I want men to step up, I want them to take care of themselves properly first. And I think that has to come from the family unit that they're being raised in, right?
Right.
Like as young men, teenagers, instead of being taught to go out here and be loose, get all the women you can get. I think
Well,
they also need to be taught how to be men,
so they have
husbands,
to hang
fathers.
around. They have
Hmm?
to hang around that. They would have to be around that type of environment to do that.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The men, so that's why I think in order for the men to even step up and make that change, it has to start with them. Like the men, I'm in my 40s, late 40s, 50s. I taught my sons you date one at a time. I can't tell you that their father felt the same way, right?
Right.
But if those 40 or 30-year-old men start teaching their sons what it really is to be a man, a husband, and a father, the dynamic
Mm-hmm.
family, the black family, will definitely change because women, I feel, we will follow if we have the right person leading us. What
And
about you?
that's true. I believe that. I can agree with you on that. That mm, if the men start to teach their children, or guide the children into a new way of thinking and living versus what we've had prior, I
Mhm.
think the family dynamic would change, because now real men, and you can. I think I would say men, two types of men. I mean, well, you can be a man but not a man. You can be grown but still a boy,
Absolutely.
and I think that some some are still boys. They
Yeah.
want to be boys until they are around people that can help or guide, guys that influence them. Not really much influence, another word, but help them to grow in a way that when their family is formed, it's a good family. It's a God fearing family, because they're taught these things versus what they've been taught in the past. Like you say, in the past they taught, guys are taught how to be
Go
what.
soy their royal oats, and then we're in trouble. This is how I said it to my sons. I have a 28-year-old, 23-year-old, 19-year-old, right? And my thing to them is, how are you going to turn off being a whore? When it
Hmm.
comes time to step up, get married, you fall in love, but you've been taught, at least I know in my family, girl, the men were taught, go do your thing. But the girls was taught, now you wait for your husband. You don't be out there just blah, 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 blah. So
Yep.
I would always say to my dad, as an adult now, you set us up. You had your daughters being good girls, good women for men who were improperly trained.
Right. And they are
Because
still
the same,
improperly trained.
yeah, because the same way you were raising your boys, the other men was raising their boys, or the uncles was raising their nephews, or the grandfather was raising their grandsons because they thought it was cute. And but my biggest thing is, but what happens is you're going to end up with broken families, right?
If the
Or
generation will keep
hmm,
going,
yeah,
the generation
absolutely.
will keep going. It will never stop, because
It will never stop. Yeah.
yeah, because there's no rethinking, no retraining of the mindset.
Mhm.
The
And you know what I
mindset.
think? You know what I think will also help? I think everyone needs a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone needs someone
Yes.
older or wiser than they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people, whether it's a man or a woman, don't want to be a follower.
Mm-hmm.
But I
I think
think
they need
truly,
someone that's seasoned. A,
say it
a
again.
person. I think they need to be around people who's seasoned, who's been through something, and can say, "No, this is what you need to do."
Hmm.
That they've had this experience, that they've cooked it up in the kitchen, and I know, no, this is the way you need to go versus this is the way you need to go.
Right. And
That's
I think they have to be God led as well, right? Because there are a lot that are seasoned, and honey, they're for the streets still. Just being honest. There are 70-year-olds still out here married, still doing their thing. So I just think that the dynamics have to change. And for me, I started with my young men, um, teaching them that it's going to be hard for you to turn off. Not only that, you could possibly cause a broken home if eventually, a lot of us women stay, but a lot of us leave. That's
well.
why. Go ahead.
How do we let the men teach and we sit back?
I think we have to have the conversation with our men. We have to, and they have to be open to it, right? Um, but it's a conversation that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. I've been talking about it for years, but I can tell you a lot of people don't want to hear it. However, I'm going to stay on repeat, right? So
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to stay on repeat in my family because I think it's important. And eventually stuff can trickle out. Like if it's in my three oldest sons, and hopefully they take it, right? And
Right.
then they're able to push it out to my grandchildren, right? That's me changing my family dynamics. With
Mm-hmm.
friends, I've always had these type of conversations, right? So I
Right.
don't think I have a friend who teaches that their son should be loose. If they do, they haven't told me.
Are you
So
are are you referring to women or men? Your friend as a woman or your friend as a man?
I don't have any male friends.
So you're
I,
talking
I
about
only have
some.
female friends. So
Oh,
the female friends that
oh,
I'm referencing, I
yeah.
mean, the friends that I'm referencing are females,
So
right?
you're still saying that the woman is teaching.
Because well, here's the thing. This is my thought. This wasn't my friend's thought, so it would be me, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not talking to their husbands. I'm having a conversation with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if everyone starts in their own household, or like
Mm-hmm.
on like this, a podcast, someone gets on a podcast and voice the issue, then I think
Yes.
it can start venturing out, well, filtering out to
A
the masses.
conversation.
Yeah, but not no, not I don't think my personal opinion, I don't think women. It's just that this has been my thought process for years because of my first experience of being married, right? I married a man who was not prepared, who
Mm-hmm.
was taught to be loose, and I was taught not to be. So it wasn't a match, right?
Right.
So from there, I just realized, well, I'm going to teach my sons totally opposite of what I saw my brothers being taught and what I've seen other young men at the time, young men were being taught. So that's where my concept came from. But I
Okay.
think when we have these conversations, men are going to hear, they're going to start listening. It's for
Yes.
them to teach their sons.
That's why I say how, because the men will say women are always stepping in. Don't give them chance to do anything. If they have something to say, the woman have something to say back on it or disagree or something with the child. How do women step back and let the man teach? Do they step back or
I
do?
I think some, because I can say like with my husband now, and remember this came from my first divorce, right? This came from the divorce. So I started teaching that to my sons. Now, my husband that I'm married to now, he knows how I feel, but our son is 6, right? And my other boys, they're grown. So does he know that's how I feel? Yes. And I think if I can recall, I remember him saying to my sons, man, I never even was told nothing like this. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so as our son grow up, we both should be having that conversation
Mm-hmm.
with our son and the why behind it. And my daughter, of course, she's being taught just like I was, so no change in that because I wasn't taught to go out here and just kind of do whatever I want to do because men are not going to treat you right. No, I wasn't told that. I kind of got set up because
But
wasn't
you
told,
won't be
girl,
one
they're gonna eat you up, but
of
whatever. Um, so my daughter is being taught to be prepared for a husband, and my sons are being prepared to be in a position to choose wisely and to
them.
be ready to be a husband before they take that step.
So do you think that women are allowing men to change the dynamic of a family, to be head of the family?
So, and this is outside looking in. The women that I know, let's remove my closest friends, let's say women that I've worked with and that's married.
Mm-hmm.
It could seem so, but the problem with that is when you're not intimate with those families, you really don't know. It could seem one way and be
Mm-hmm.
another. Because I'm very selective. I always say that. I don't try to befriend everybody. I don't believe in the numbers.
Right.
Um, so it seems as if the people that I associate with um, have that kind of dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's being put out is that it's not true. But I wonder, and I don't know, I wonder if that's single people talking versus married people talking. Because a lot of single people like to get in married people business. I'm just saying.
You saying okay, talking as in saying as what? Single
Their
people
opinion,
saying.
their opinion of like when I say that single men giving an opinion of a married woman. And
Mm-hmm.
the stigma behind women, which is what the question that you posed was, do women allow? I know
Mm-hmm.
my sisters allow. I know
Mm-hmm.
I allow.
Because
Um,
why? Because the way you were taught.
yeah, but my father and my mother, yeah. hmm
Mm-hmm.
So And I think that's why I feel that it can happen. But the problem in my household as a child, it was only taught to the women, right?
Mhm.
So I think that it should be taught to the men as well. Because I tell my sons, you're just as valuable as a woman. She's no more valuable than you. I don't know why people walk around as if the women are just the most precious thing in the world and the men are just supposed to just disrespect themselves. So
We are
I have the conversation to them to
we are the
respect
precious
yourself.
thing in the world. We are the precious thing in the world, Miss
You can say what
Thing.
you want. So are my sons. So I want
We
them to
are.
represent themselves well, choose wisely, because um, the way it looks is as if women aren't being taught to be
Mhm.
wise mothers. I could be wrong. I'm just saying the way it looks, right? Maybe
Right.
someone could put in the comment and tell me I'm wrong, but it just seems as if women are being taught to go chase money.
That's what we
Um,
are.
hmm?
That's what we see. That's what we see. That's what
Right.
we're. That's what we
But I
see.
don't but I don't know, but what I'm saying is I don't know if that's being taught or if they're following that on social media, right? Because I don't know what's in their homes. People will have to speak on that part. I'm just saying what it looks like is as if people are out here chasing money, not
Mm-hmm.
really want to be a mother, I mean a wife, a mother. But that's the continuation of the world, right?
Right.
So I think it's important if men take more responsibility when they do become husbands, fathers, take that lead in that home instead of stepping back and letting that woman do everything when it
Ooh.
comes to raising their children, right?
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to raising their children, because this is part of what I'm saying, men step up, be involved. Don't be in your home and be absent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Be present, just like the women should be present. The men should be present.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Mhm.
think that if we just have the conversation and they have to be willing to hear, and the women have got to be willing to have that conversation and understand that you do need to step back, right? And I get it. It can be hard to step back if the man isn't doing everything right. But here's something that I've always carried with me. And this is something I felt even in my early 20s, honey. I would always say, I will allow my husband to lead. We can fall. That's okay. As long as I got a roof over my head, we have water, we have power, and we have food. Trying to build, it's okay if he fall down. I just need to see that he can get back up. I'm I don't think it's about perfection and trying to hold, the man in a box. I think if more men can understand that it's okay for them to figure it out while they're going along, but they got to have that woman that's going to have their back and accept the falls, the highs and the lows in the marriage, in the family unit. And I know a lot of women, well, let me not say I know a lot of women. I
Mhm.
hear men say a lot of women don't support, right? Or in their ear nagging when things
Mhm.
aren't going well.
But why? Because you said why? Because this stereotype is everyone is running after the bag.
Yeah.
So no one
Yeah.
has time to. It's hard. I feel like it would be hard for the men to try to change the dynamic of a family when in this climate now everything is chasing a bag. It's not trying to put the family together. It's not trying to do that. It chasing the bag, then the family come. Chase the bag, the family. Chase the
But
bag.
here's the beauty of life. As we continue, we can always change the path, right?
Right.
So even in the current household, now if you have adults, I get it. You can more so just have the conversation. And then have that conversation with their young men so that when
But
their young men, when their
that's the
sons have children,
conversation. But
say
that's the
again.
conversation being had now. The conversation to the young men now, because we are really talking about the young generation, because the older generation are like older and the kids are grown. But so if we're
Well,
talking about changing the
keep going.
dynamic for the younger generation,
Mhm.
they are being trained to chase the bag.
Right, but that's why I just said just because, and you know how I feel. Just
Yeah.
because the older generation is older does not mean they can't change their path. I don't believe in that. because I made changes in my 40s. So I definitely believe that those men who do have adult sons can still start the conversation, because guess what? Their adult sons are going to have children. So just because they're older and their children are already adults does not, and even if they already have grandchildren, they're little, more than likely. So they can still start those conversations and be vulnerable and open with their sons, nephews about their failures, right? And
That's
how
right.
they can change it. So even if they're older, that doesn't change the conversation at all. But for the young men, if they're listening or ever the conversation is starts to get had and they're in their
Mhm.
early 20s, early 30s, they'll have a beautiful start.
They will have a beautiful start
Yep.
because the knowledge that they will have,
Yeah.
but we need to help, or I don't even know if the right word is help,
Have the
to
conversation often.
help get the conversation started.
Yeah. And that's what we're
How?
doing now, right?
Yeah, you're
And we're
right.
gonna have these type of conversations repeatedly. We know we are because we talk about this kind of stuff all the time.
All the
Yeah.
time. Right.
Hmm.
'Cause
And
we
you
are
know what I
family.
always say? Have those conversations with your friends. Have them with
Yeah.
your other family members, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's like I said, I've been beating my dad upside the head on with this kind of talk, honey, since I was in my 20s. So
Girl, you know all the time.
yeah, so I've
Mhm.
always said this to him. This is I love my dad to pieces, girl, but I would tell him with my first two, because they were 5 years like, Daddy, you could tell them anything. Have any conversation you want. Stay away from relationships. I'm just being
Mhm.
honest because I didn't want my sons to ruin their households.
Mhm.
I
Well,
want them. Oh, go ahead.
this girl was on TikTok today, and she was talking about how sons end up. She said if a son is raised by a single woman, the son ends up. Um, I don't want to say the girl said it, tell a lie what she said, but I think the girl said if a son is raised by a single mother, he's gonna end up being like a whore or in the streets, and he's gonna treat women dirty because he he's seen his mama struggle or whatever, whatever. So he's gonna treat women dirty. Then she said if he's raised by his grandmother, his aunties, his sisters, he's gonna take care of you because he was trained by women. I already knew you was gonna dang gonna laugh. Yes, I did. She did say that.
Bullshit.
I knew you was
God,
gonna say that.
please.
Yeah,
Jesus. I did not just curse then turn around and call Jesus' name.
yeah,
Forgive me,
but
Lord, but these people be
it's for
tripping.
real. Some of it true for real, because if you think about it, well, if you
Yeah, think about it.
yeah, think about it. Think about it. I
Yeah,
think
because
some
mm-mm,
you
mm-mm.
can you if a mother, grandmother, auntie, sister raised a boy, he's always with them, and she's raising them. I think they will be kind of a good fit or good
Bullshit.
people because
Bullshit.
they are learning from women, and women are
Girl, cut
sisters
the
or whatever,
crap.
whatever. And if
No.
he's now
You
single
can't
mother, like you
you
said,
can't do
that if
that.
a single mother, he's gonna be a hoe. He ain't gonna treat a girl good.
Well, then
He's not.
she wouldn't like me to come on because baby, my brothers was raised by both my parents. My cousins on my mother's side was raised by both their parents, except for well, 2. Ooh, let me almost say something. So again, and my ex-husband was raised by both his parents. So again, bullshit.
It is not. It's just it's a certain percentage.
No,
It's
it's not that. That's what it is. It's just life. Improper training on how to be men. And I think somewhere along the line, improper training on how to be women came into play as well. That's my
yeah.
belief. I don't care if it's a single parent, both parents, grandparents, aunts, because from what I've been looking at, a lot of people have just their focus was, I think even D.L. Hughley,
Mhm.
go to college and make your money, and they wanted them to go and get money because honestly, they knew the men weren't worth shit. Just being honest. So that's why I think it has to start with the men changing. Because
Mhm.
if the men who are out here in the streets are raising their daughters and are telling their daughters, go get your degree, make sure you have something for yourself, why are they telling you that?
Why? Because they don't trust that the man is gonna take
Was
care of.
raised properly. They weren't raised properly. They was raised to go out there and be what probably the daddy was, but now he don't want it done to his daughters.
Well,
So that's what I'm saying. It has to be changed.
it's 100 or 200 year tradition that's gonna take time to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have the conversation and make sure that this is something we talk about out in the open, not just in private. Because I've been again doing it for years. But I like that we have this podcast, and this is something that we can talk about quite often to ensure that the men know we want them. We want them to be in the home, leading the home, but they got to be right. They
Yeah,
have
but
to be ready.
women have to change their mind frame too, because I can raise my hand and say
Mhm.
that you sometimes if you don't want to let them lead
Well,
you
it could it be
because
because of who it is?
big no we
Okay.
we've been we were raised in different ways. So
Mhm.
your way, what you just said, in my way is the woman, do everything or whatever, whatever. Because I gotta stop saying whatever, whatever. But that's what I do say to say, not to
This is
say things.
raw. We're not polished. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. It's just to keep from saying things that I don't want to say. But yeah,
Mhm.
I was raised a different way. So I was raised with women, so I see that I'm women are like that. If we're raised by women, we're kind of like cock strong. We don't want to let a man come in and tell us what to do because a man never did. We don't want to let a man come in and change us because a man never did.
Mhm.
Versus a man did with you. You had a two-parent home versus someone
Mhm.
that just had a one-parent home. We don't think the same. It's like, how do we let you step up? Because like if you do something we don't like, we're gonna let you know. So and that's a point. They feel like we're not
Well,
letting
you
them
should be able to let them know, but it's the delivery. There's nothing wrong with voicing issues. It's
and
how
that
you it's how you step up and let them know.
and that may play a role in the family dynamic because the way the things are delivered.
Right. So
The,
you thinking that instead of looking at the men right now to step up, you're thinking both at the same time?
women we have to look at ourselves as well because we you may not have, but other women have been through stuff, and they like, no, I don't want to hear that, because this is not what it is. It's like,
Mhm.
no, this is not all goody goody like you're saying, but
So
that's
you don't
because
believe that women will follow if there's a let's say if the tables have turned and the majority are good men, you're saying you don't think women will adjust?
yeah, but we're gonna have to really see it.
Well, of course, this is why we said it's about when men step up. That's why it's about them taking the lead, not the woman. See, it's
Yeah,
almost
and
sound like we're bringing back in about well, the woman. I'm not talking about the woman. I'm talking about the
yeah,
men.
yeah, but I'm saying, but women have to allow them to step up and change it.
Well,
That's why you do.
but if you have it where it's the men having the conversation with the other men in their selection, they won't select those women. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm saying because they're always talking about we have to do better in our selection. Women, y'all got to choose better. Y'all chose that man. And what I'm saying is the men have got to take the lead and select better as well. It can't always be where the women have got to blah, 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 blah. I think that if the men numbers change and it's reversed to where they're taught to be a king of their home, the women will get left behind or they're going to change. That's why I think it take the man to lead, not the woman. I think eventually the woman will adjust if the men step up.
Yeah, okay. If you
Yeah.
feel like they will, I think so too. But it would be a lot of changing of mind.
But that's
Let
what
me,
has to happen. Yeah. And it's okay to for it to be a slow change. We just want it to start happening.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so therefore, women like us need
Mhm.
to do what we're doing, the podcast, and talk to, like you say, our friends and family
Yeah.
of I'm saying of women to just now, let men, what can we do to help let the men step up to change our family dynamic? What can we do to help them?
Maybe that can
Because
be tomorrow's conversation because right now we are a minute and 40 seconds over. Because
well,
tonight was about the men. Because I want to see our men doing the thing. So,
mhm,
you guys, as you know, we are on our 30 days, 30-minute challenge. We're going to go back to our regular Tuesday and Thursdays, but right now, tomorrow will be day 8 of our 30-day challenge. So please meet us for episode 12, where we will then flip it and talk about how we can get our sisters to allow this growth from our
mhm,
men that can
mhm.
better our homes, change all of our bloodlines.
And can it be done?
Not can it. It can be done, and it
Will it
will be done.
will it be done?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
What, in 2028? I'm
so
just
you
playing.
guys, we've got to go. We will definitely see y'all tomorrow. Please show up and help us continue to grow.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
absolutely. So from startup to takeover, watch us work. Kim and
Sir.
Latrice, we are out.
Good night.
Good night.